I'm gonna do a quick video explaining toxic masculinity and gender issues, which is something that I've never taken a course in it. Like, I didn't take a philosophy course because that's where they study that kind of stuff. I did take a philosophy course in sexuality, but that course never outlined any sort of gender stuff, so they completely left gender out and then talked about the person as an entity, including the authors that the professor chose to present to the class, who were talking about gender. It wasn't really gender specific issues, more so cultural specific issues and generational specific issues. So I think it's because it's like such a heavily debated topic in philosophy that they just like want to segregate those two topics so they can focus on like talking about sexuality without involving gender. And also, I guess they don't want to get into the whole debate of like homosexuals and heterosexuals and all that kind of stuff. I think like they just didn't like. Regardless, that entire stuff that he was presenting never ever mentioned any sort of. I did read a marriage book, which they outlined that they did include a lot of studies, including homosexual relationships, but they never actually used any of that for study from a good marriage. I don't know if they're trying to state without offending anybody, saying that there's only very few good marriages that they could use to study, and none of them were homosexual. Not that there's anything wrong with homosexuality in and of itself. Ow! Ugh. Okay, ow. I just read there's a lot of blogs off Tumblr because they're talking about social justice issues and like such as racism and gender conformation and LGBTQ issues, stuff like that. So toxic masculinity is like toxic monogamy kind of stuff, where they're just like trying to force people to live a specific life kind of thing. I think, if I recall correctly, they said that it like outlines a very specific set of values and behaviors associated with being a man, and if a man ever like steps out of that said specific like box of it, they will get ostracized, they get bullied. And bullying with men is different than bullying with women, because women, they get socially ostracized, whereas men, they get physically ostracized. So like they start getting like, you know, beat up, and they start losing their resources. Whereas with women, they are unable to make any friends, which impacts women greater than it impacts men. But with like toxic masculinity, it's like outlining like, oh, you can't cry, you're not supposed to show emotions, oh, don't consider like your like sexual relationships to be important, you know, it doesn't matter, you need to like get over it, and like none of it is like relevant, because if that person isn't like ready to or like is willing to be with you, it means that there's like nothing wrong with what you did, but it's because like that person has problems or whatever, you know. And they're like, oh, you have to only value like strength and money and possessions of resources, so you can use that to gain more authority and more power. That's toxic masculinity. So they're like, oh, there's only like, you can't like be a feminine man, you can't actually like things that other men find disgusting in your social group, like you have to be blah 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 blah, and it causes people to be very unhappy. It causes people to be very, apparently it's linked to aggression and violence and sexually motivated crimes. And it's kind of, and I've noticed that guys who think that way are the ones who don't have that much friends, and I don't know if it has anything to do with the fact that they did something that caused them to feel that way, or they don't live in a good area. Anyway, that's toxic masculinity. Yeah, so rape, which is violence, and aggression, is linked with this idea that men have to be a certain way and they can't do these things ever. Kind of like the 10 Commandments or something. You know, like the bro code? Like, they were showing that on the media, I think, with this character named Barney Stinson, he's so manly that he only wears suits all the time, even at a bar, and he has casual sexual relationships with multiple women, and he only considers men to be important, and women are only important if they are associated or in a relationship with men that he is friends with or is in his social group. That's toxic masculinity. So, like, if a guy wants to be friends with somebody and their group doesn't approve, that means that he has to hate that person. That's toxic masculinity. That's what they were talking about over on Tumblr, and I was like, they were like, please destroy the patriarchy. Like, that was some weirdos taking it too far, but yeah, patriarchy isn't the problem, I think. It's the fact that people have low social skills. And they get jealous of people with skills. So they kind of want people to be just as skilled as they are. I wonder if that's what people mean by taking it slow. But yeah, that's toxic masculinity. And people are like, they suffer greatly because of the social violence that they experience due to their well, people aren't cut out, like, they're not cookie cutter identities, you know? So I guess a lot of people face discrimination, a lot of people face blah 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 blah. I mean, I'm assuming that's where the whole racism stuff came from, like I said, because matriarchy and patriarchy functions differently. And people who are patriarchal, if you're surrounded by people who are patriarchal, they won't understand what matriarchy is unless they're very educated or wealthy or affluent. Right? So if they're not wealthy, educated, or affluent, then they won't really understand it, and they'd start thinking that there's something wrong with that person. And they'll try to convert them into being what they consider is normal. That's the toxic masculinity. What they think is normal, what they are, everyone has to be like. But you don't have to be exactly like that person in order for you to be, like, you know, accepted in the social group or social area, or, like, just be socially acceptable in general. But that's what that is. Feminism, on the other hand, is, like, trying to promote women's rights to kind of combat the effects of toxic masculinity, saying, regardless of whatever you think about me, me as a person, I should be able to do such and such things, and, like, I don't have to be, like, sexually involved or romantically involved or be colleagues with one of your guy friends or your guy colleagues or whatever, in order for you to see me as a valued human being, right? That's not how that works. That's called sexism. So that's toxic masculinity, and I see it all the time, especially with guys who are really bad with women. It's so weird. It goes hand in hand. So guys who are bad with women are also the ones who are very, like, toxic masculinity and, like, has, like, fragile masculine egos and all that kind of stuff. They're very insecure. They don't think that things are, like, stable. They think that, like, if somebody's better than them, that someone's gonna try to take it over or something like that, which is kind of weird for me. I guess they they have experience with people who, like, attempt to, like, overthrow them in positions of power or something. But yeah, like, I don't need to be, like, involved with a guy for the people who are, like, let's say I live in a patriarchal society and majority of the authority positions or positions of power are held by men, and in order for me to be recognized as a citizen, they only say that I have to be dating or be involved in with a man that they know, that they recognize as also valuable. And I'm like, what is that? That's toxic masculinity. That's how they label it. But, like, I don't know what that's really called. I think it's, like, I don't think it's good. I think it's, like, what do you call it? Like, counterproductive. There we go. To a person's, like, and everyone else's progress. Like, you shouldn't have to do those things in order for them to see you as somebody who's worthwhile. right? This is what I go by, basically. Like, why do I have to, like, convince you that I'm okay and blah 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 blah, if, you know, the case is that I'm fine, you know, I don't need to, like, be involved with somebody that you personally know in order for you to, like, feel secure and safe about your own social status and your environment in general. Like, that's a baby, okay? I consider that a person a baby. I'm like, you're such a baby. You, like, start throwing tantrums because you don't know that person very well and you want to get to know that person. And then you feel like you have an entitlement over everyone because everyone should be blah 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 blah, and, like, you know, look at me, I got all these resources, ooga ooga, you should really want to be with me and be friends with me, or be friends with the people that I know, so you're in association with me somehow, ooga ooga. And I'm like, am I, like, I feel like I travel back in time to, like, the caveman days, you know, like, where, like, people have to, like, they have to use caves to, like, live from shelters, and they spent, like, 8 hours looking for food so they can fuel themselves for 8 hours the next day. It's just kind of weird. But yeah, that's toxic masculinity. How do you, like, combat the effects of it? Honestly, I think they said, you know, just you yourself should recognize that that kind of stuff is toxic, and, like, you know, work on yourself, you know, work on your thinking patterns and the way you perceive others, and, like, try to, like, you know, get involved in a healthier way where you're promoting these types of issues as valid and as something that is worthwhile to be looked after, that kind of stuff. Like, you can't change other people's minds forcefully, but you can be the person who can be like, yeah, I don't, like, agree to that, but, like, just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean that I'm gonna stop being your friend or I'm gonna stop supporting you. Which is something a lot of people have a hard time with. I think that's where the insecurity comes from. I think they're like, oh, but you don't agree with me. Like, this is what cats do. Like, you know, cats, the pet, they're like this. They're like, you have to be just like me, agree with all of my things, and support me every single way. Otherwise, you aren't my friend. Like, if you disagree with me some way, in some whatever, that means like, I have to make you just like me, and then we can still be friends. And I'm like, yeah, that's toxic masculinity. Which is weird because cats are usually associated with women. Yeah, they're usually considered feminine because they are very, like, they're pro-social, and they, like, they'll always be on your side. They'll always be your friend. Right? Like, there's no way that they'll stop being friends with you, even if you do something really fucked up. Right? Those are, like, what cats, that's how cats socialize. So, I'm just like, not the very smartest, honestly. I think out of dogs and cats, like, I'd prefer having a dog. But cats are really great when you need, like, that extra emotional support, whereas dogs don't really understand that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know what that is, and I also don't understand why you're upset, because it's not, like, to me, I don't understand that this is even a problem. Whereas cats are like, I understand that you're emotionally upset right now, and that means that I need to make sure that you're not upset anymore. And I'll do what I can to make you, like, emotionally okay. Oh my god, is that what he's trying to say? It's bad. Just realized something. Anyway. That's what that means. Like, stop, like, holding on to this belief that men have to be a certain way, otherwise your dick's gonna fall off. You know? Like, all of a sudden your dick's gonna shrink. And also, I think they did mention, these, like, weird size comparisons with their dicks. You know, they're like, oh, just because some guy has, like, dick size shouldn't matter, like, it doesn't matter to a lot of women, but they never really got into the details of it. Honestly, look, if that's a problem, I say, like, you know, there's always supplementary options, such as, like, dildos and strap-ons and stuff like that. You don't always have to have sex to have a healthy romantic relationship, which is something that they were pushing for in the sexuality course that I took. Like, you don't have to have sex. Sex is an integral part of a romantic or fulfilling boyfriend-girlfriend marriage, whatever. Like, that's not really, like, that's such a small aspect to, like, a person's happiness and the health of that relationship. It's not like, oh, you know, even though it is a part of it, like, it's a problem if you don't have sex. But if you don't, like, if you focus on making sure that that aspect is the only thing that's fulfilling about the relationship, that's called either taking advantage of someone, or you guys are in a only sexual relationship, which is very, very, very unhealthy. You can't consider that or call that a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. Those are called sexual encounters. People make fun of those online all the time. It's so funny with, like, misconnections and, like, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, please stop thinking that you need to be a certain way, and stop going against the people who are like this. Like, it means they don't really understand it. You yelling at them and making fun of them and saying that there's something wrong with that person for thinking that way and behaving that way isn't gonna stop them from doing those things. This is gonna perhaps even enable it. They're gonna get very defensive. They're gonna think that you're personally attacking them, when in reality, all you should be doing is saying that those things aren't okay with me, but it may be like it's okay with other people. I don't know.